Hey everyone, and welcome to Iron Vlog number 158. This is my journey to become Iron Man. And this is going to be the welding cart I'm going to build. How insane is this? So this is the welder. If you've seen my welder, you can tell that's the shape of it. This is the tank, and then going to be around here is going to be, well, this thing right here is the center of mass. And so you can see it's essentially right in the middle. So what you want to be careful about when you build a welding tank is the top of this breaking off, and then this thing becomes a rocket ship. Cold gas thruster rocket ship. And they're very dangerous, and they can fly through houses and shit, and you don't want to fuck with that. So the welder would slide in. I have it cut or designed to where it would really match the shape of it, which I really like. I'm intentionally making this somewhat complicated. This is not an easy way to do this. It's actually kind of dumb. I'm going to have to do some crazy angles on this thing and really get creative on how I do it and probably end up filling a bunch of gaps with weldment. That's kind of the point. I want a lot of practice welding. That's why I'm trying to make it very angular and try to, do some crazy stuff. Like in here, this is this crazy thing going on with this octagon in here, and then all this in here, and there's going to be, I think, some kind of other piece that comes, well, definitely, some kind of other piece that comes up, and then some angles that come from here and across and touch to the support right there. So, and then that'll go around that, and that'll keep that, obviously, from falling out. And then around this area and this area, this right here will be open so that you can slide the tank in, and then there's got to be some way of hooking it on there. I haven't figured that out yet, but anyway, around this area and this area, I'm going to build some kind of thing. I haven't quite figured this out either. That's going to hold all of my TIG rods. So the TIG rod, and it'll hold like probably 6 different types of TIG rod or something like that, will be held around this thing, and there'll be a spot where this. You'll grab the tank and you'll lift it and you'll put it in this bottom ring and then push it up into a top part that holds it, and there'll be some kind of system for securing it at the top. And then the nice thing about this is that the center of gravity is right in the middle. And then flip it like this. From the top, there'll be casters, which are wheels. They can spin, they're wheels. Like on a shopping cart. Think those. There'll be one here, one here, one here, and one there. And then these two will be slightly lower down so that this is not quite even. And that allows you actually to get over bumps and stuff a little bit easier. So my buddy Tim told me about that and how he built some stuff. And then if you look at like carts, like the big carts in Home Depot, those are... built the same way, and it allows you to go over stuff easier. So I'm going to do that on there eventually too, and then yeah, it's pretty cool. I'm excited to build this, and then eventually I think some of the holders for the TIG stuff I might get water jet cut when I build the actual suit, since they're both going to be aluminum, and I can weld those on maybe later because I can make some really precise holes that way instead of kind of messing with this tube that way. Not sure. Something I was thinking about. The other thing I want to show you guys is this right here. Here's the exoskeleton again. There's me in it. There's not me in it anymore. What I've done and went and added is this thing right here, this skirt. Probably should come up with a more badass name than this, since it's Iron Man. We'll call it the Iron Skirt, even though it's aluminum. What you gonna do? Anyway, this is going... Well, you'll see it comes almost straight down here with a little bit of angle, and then... very flanged off here, and then the idea is this would come up straight like this, right? There'd be a part that comes up like this, and then so it flanges off here, and then I haven't completed the back because the back is going to be, there's going to be the latch system, and that there's going to be stuff held on my back. So essentially a backpack is going to go onto that. It's going to carry fuel and batteries and stuff like that. That's going to go on the back. So that is going to continue the skirt around, but the reason this is flanged out like this is this right here is not yet covering a joint that moves this way yet. This is covering the next joint down will have a part that covers that. So this essentially comes straight down, and then I know this sounds kind of weird, but there'll be another joint here, and there'll be another separate piece that comes around, and built on that separate piece that comes down to this. So there's a joint here, and then that joints down and comes around, and there's another joint going through this plane. So 90 degrees to that, boom. This is really small. Sorry, guys. Let me make this a little bigger. So that joint right there is a sagittal joint, and then 90 degrees off of that will be a frontal joint, and in between that will be its own piece. And on that piece, that one will also flange out over here. But that's the one that's going to rock down and needs to accommodate for that sideways motion, right? You feel me? Does that kind of make sense? So these front ones, though, for this joint, this part, that same part that I just mentioned, it is going to pivot in there like this, and that needs to be accommodated up here. So this allows that to kind of stack up like that, kind of like some weird kind of snakeskin kind of thing going on. Eventually, in like a future model, this will probably be built on like a part that flexes back, so you don't have this kind of part sticking out. You have this adds excess metal sticking out. It's about from this plate right here to that right there is about 6 inches, to give you an idea how far it is. So this plate, that right there is 6 inches. So there'll be even more foam inside of it. So it's not straight 6 inches out from my belly. There's probably another 2 inches on the inside or somewhere around that. So you're looking at probably 8 inches of stick out just there. This will be more streamlined right here, but then you'll have a little bit extra to accommodate. And then the idea is to keep everything completely covered up with metal all the way down on this. And then, yeah, you know, it's Iron Man. You don't want to be showing fabric on it, right? There'll be some fabric on it for sure, but it won't be all fabric. So that's cool. There's the skirt, and then like I said, the next one is going to flange out this way, and then also in the front too. That one also has to flange out in the front as well because of the way it moves. Because essentially moving with this one as well. Well, there's another joint below it. Yeah. So the other one has to flange out in both directions, but this one only has to flange out in this direction. And then it's important that this be kept wide out here, and this might actually not be wide enough. It doesn't have to be perfect yet. I can go and adjust this, except if you look down here, I'm having trouble with Fusion 360. See how this one's yellow? It's saying that it's failing to compute, even though it's still working. I hate it when that happens. It's a sign that I'm having difficulty, or it's a sign that I have kind of a junky file. So there's a slight chance that this is attempt 1, that I may have to do an attempt 2 just on the torso. It will not be its own draft. If you're new to the channel, it's not going to be a new draft. It'll just be attempt 2 for the torso. But I would probably do that. What I'll probably do is I'm still going to continue with this one. I'm going to try to get it done. And then if I were to do that, I would probably do out the rest of the suit and then decide to redo this one at the end. Because I'm making this one a little bit more modular. So this part is brought in, and then another piece is brought on top of that. So I can take out just the torso and I can plug and play them, right? So I can the parts that there will be the torso. That'll also be built in here will be the shoulder girdle. So they're 2 files, but those 2 are reliant on each other, so those cannot be swapped out. Oh well. But the torso that will have the shoulder girdle in it, and the lumbar will be its own file, which is through here. The pelvis will be its own file. The leg will be its own file, and again, it'll be 2 nested files, one for the upper leg, one for the lower leg, and then the arm will be its own file, and then one for the upper arm, one for the lower arm, and then the hand will be its own file too, and then the head will be its own file, and the head and the neck will be in the same file. So if any one of those isn't working quite right, but the other ones look good, I can just rebuild one of them instead of having to rebuild the entire suit. That's the short of what I'm trying to say. So if this one ends up not being something I'm really comfortable building, I can go back and do it. But for now, it looks good enough. I'm going to keep going with it and try to get some more done on it. The next thing I need to work on is I'm going to do the frontal joint, which is the ability to do this, up and down with your shoulder girdle. So this plane of movement right here, so moving your arms in the frontal plane, or moving your shoulders in the frontal plane. You're moving your shoulder girdle up and down in the frontal plane. And so there's one joint in the front and one joint in the back, and then there's going to be a very large piece that comes out through this. It's all going to be Kevlar. It's going to be bulky and come around on the back, and that's going to give a lot of strength. And then there's going to be a thinner piece that's going to be thin and wide coming off the front. And then those will meet, and there'll be another. So what'll happen is I'll build the frontal joint. I'm just building the spot, just that joint, just the base piece for that joint now. And then once I finish that, then I'm going to go in and build the shoulder girdle. And the shoulder girdle has another joint that allows for this motion, and then it's going to have a motion for raising and lowering the shoulder. And then another one that comes around is on the outside here for going like this with your shoulder. And then that is what the arm attaches to. So this is a very complicated file. Well, that's the shoulder girdle, but that shoulder girdle, like I said, is going to be nested into this. think. There's a chance I might not have to do that. Maybe I could do it without nesting it. Just do it as its own file. And then if this gets junky, I could just take it and just replace this one, which would be a lot easier than doing the full shoulder girdle too. I might mess around with that idea and see if I can't make it work. I'm not sure I can, but I might mess around with that and see what I can do. Alright guys, I was hoping to get a little bit more done today, but I didn't. I started on the frontal joint, and I got a little bit done, but it just wasn't moving right for me today. And then I was thinking, and I was actually talking with my mom, and we were just kind of discussing about how you're more efficient if you're working on multiple problems. And like today I got a lot done because I also got the cart done. And one thing I was thinking, because I'm now parting up the suit and not trying to build them on top of each other, it might make more sense for me to try to build a couple of different files at once. So that might be something I do tomorrow. I might like take a break from the torso and then start on the pelvis for a little while, and then, who knows, start on the arm. Or like I said today, there's going to be the torso that has the girdle in it. There's going to be the girdle, or I might make the girdle on its own, which I already said today as well. But so there's torso, girdle, lumbar, pelvis, the leg, arm, hand, and head. Those are all files I could be kind of bouncing in between. It might make, I'm not sure I'd want to start them all necessarily. That might be a little bit much, but it might make a good sense to do that. So what I might move on to is the pelvis right now, because the pelvis, the most similar part to the pelvis is the torso. So I'm working on the torso right now, so there'll be overlap between them. So I think I might start on the pelvis tomorrow and then kind of bounce back and forth between the two of them. I might give that a try tomorrow and see if I can be a little bit more efficient with my time. And because like today I was just looking at my computer, I'm like, I can't do it. I can't think. My brain won't work. So I might do that tomorrow and see if I keep at a little bit of higher efficiency when bouncing between those two things. I think I'm gonna try that. Anyway, you guys are great. If you're seeing this video for the first time, smash the subscribe button. This is my journey to become Iron Man, guys. How can you not want to see that? You guys are awesome. Have a good one.